I'll just start by talking a little bit about what we're going to do today. This is a sunflower inspired by the Mexican Talavera pottery. Because Cinco de Mayo is on Sunday, I think. It was May 5th anyway, today's the 1st. And it kind of made me think of Mexico, and Mexican pottery is really beautiful. And of course, because we're talking about pollinators and stuff like that, a sunflower came to mind immediately. And here's an example of Mexican pottery tile. And this is their typical sunflower design. And I looked at a couple other things, and here's a Talavera insect butterfly, and these are typical colors used in Talavera pottery. It's a specific pottery that originated in Spain, and there's a place, I haven't been to Mexico, so I don't know where it is, but a place in the Puebla region of Mexico that's specializes in this type of tile. And one of the things, and pottery, one of the things that they really enjoy using is these primary colors. So today we're going to do something as sort of an homage to this pottery style. It's a very symmetrical design, and I use rulers, and I'll show you how to make all the connections. And I do it in black and white first, and then I color it in. So I have different colors that I picked out, basically using the primary colors that the Mexican pottery utilizes, and I have them pulled out, and I have some crayons too. I think I'm working with magic marker and crayons. If you want to paint something, the reason why I'm not painting is it takes a while to dry, but if that's what you prefer to do, that's fine too. But the first thing in order to get started is I'm taking and I'm also going to do just two separate pieces, and I use a glue stick just to glue this down. And talking about butterflies and how they pollinate, they actually drink the nectar of the flowers, where a bee might pick up the pollen from their legs. The butterflies do also, but not as much as bees do. The butterfly is mostly interested in getting the nectar out of the flower head, and that's where they get their energy from. It enables them to fly. So it's a kind of it's interesting. Nature is all connected, and they all have a role and a job to do, the flowers as well as the insects. So the first thing that I did to make it really simple for everybody is I have a piece of paper, plain piece of paper, and I'm just gonna not fold it in half, but I'm just gonna pinch it in the center. And I'm gonna, if you see it, made a mark there, and then I'm gonna fold it in the other direction, and I'm gonna pinch it again. And what that gives me is a perfect center. So I'm gonna use that center as the basis of my symmetrical flower drawing. Now, I don't know if you have a circle, whatever you're using for a circle. Chinese soup containers make great circles, and this one measures 4.5 across. So I'm going to look at my center on my piece of paper, and half of 4.5 is 2.25. And I'm going to make what's called a tick mark. I'm just going to make a little tick mark, and I'm going to go make a tick mark on the other side, so that right in the center I have 4.5 inches. And then I'm going to turn my paper in the opposite direction, and I'm going to put my 2.25 mark on the center again, and do 4.5 here. So now I have 4 tick marks. I hope you can see it. And I'm gonna lay my circle shape on top of that, and I'm going to just trace around it. I'm gonna press a little harder so you guys can see what I'm doing. But if you want to, don't press too hard if you want to erase this later. So right now I have this circle shape, and I have 4 marks where I have it divided. And then what I want to do again is divide these marks in half. I'm doing this by eye, but you can measure it if you want to. I'm just gauging the distance between the 2 points, and I'm marking it in the middle. Now, the way I did the petals is I came out about 2 inches. If you look at this picture, these are all like 2 inches away from this outside line. So I took my ruler again, And taking the difference between these two lines is here. I'm going to come out about 2 inches. You can do this by eye if you want, but just for example, so I split the difference between this mark and this mark, and I come out about 2 inches, and I'm going to draw an arc. And an arc is not a straight line, it's a slightly curved line, but I'm going from point here, this point to this point, and from this point to this point, and that makes a petal for the flower. So I have the second one here. I'm going to split the difference again. I can take my ruler or I can do it by eye. I'm going to come out about 2 inches, and I'm going to make another arc. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Each time I'll just keep saying what I'm doing. I'm going to split the difference between these 2 points, and I'm going to come out about 2 inches, and I'm going to connect my 2 arcs at that point. Now I have another row, there's another row of petals behind it, and I'll show you how to do that. The way I did that was I split the difference. Now, if you look at the difference between this point and this point, I'm going to mark that halfway, and the difference between this point and this point is going to be marked halfway. Now, I'm going to get, you can measure this from here to here, but I'm just going to measure this way, and I'm going to do that all the way around. I'm going to come around, and I'm going to make back petals behind it. Every time I'm coming around, I'm putting it in exactly the same spot. So now you can see I have a completed flower, and this is what it looks like when it's colored in. But the next thing I want to do is, if you see this, get rid of my bug for a minute. These are just graphically designed indications of what a sunflower looks like. The sunflower has, it actually has this kind of pattern to it, but a lot of times in design work, you see it as crisscross. And the way I did that, when you can draw a straight line if you want, but what I did is I made it slightly curved. And if you can see, I'm connecting my points. Now, what I'm using for a ruler this time is my finger. I just marked it right there. It's about the distance of a finger width apart. And I'm just doing that, going all the way across. Now I'm left-handed, so you might want to go in the other direction, and that's perfectly fine. But so then when I did that side, I'm going to come around and do the other side, and I'm going to follow the line of that curve because I wanted to give it a little bit of a circular dimension so it's not quite so flat. And I did that, so I have all of my lines drawn in one direction, and now I want to do a crisscross pattern. So basically I'm going to look at this point, and I'm going to draw an arc this way. And don't worry, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is just a quick rendering. And now one of the things I did, and I just kind of, when I put this together, using this Mexican tile as a guide, these little lines here reminded me of fork shapes, but I don't have to draw them in yet because I think we can just do that without drawing them in pencil first. But the next thing I want to do is the leaves. The leaves are also a pattern, and it's also symmetrical. So if you look at your point over here, I'm just taking this, I'm making this arc shape here and an arc shape here in between these two, and it's coming out to the edge. And I'm going to do that in all 4 corners. I'm going to take these 2 petals, I'm going to split the difference on one side, and I'm just going to bring it down like that. And it's very... We're going to draw the actual leaf shapes, which is just very freehand. But if you can see from here, it's the middle of this leaf, and the middle of this petal and the middle of this petal. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 petals. So if you go out to this 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be halfway on this one and halfway on this one. It's very, very simple. And you just go 1, 2, 3. I'm just making 3 curves. And if I start here, I'm doing 1, 2, 3. And that's my leaf shape. And I'm going to continue to do that in all 4 corners. Again, taking my 4 petals, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the middle, and this is the middle. I'm going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So now we have a completed sunflower drawing. And what we can do, we can start coloring this in, and then we can do the butterfly next, but we'll have to keep, we have a fair amount of time, so we can start coloring this in. As soon as you're finished your drawing, what you're gonna do is I'm gonna take a black Sharpie. Hopefully, if you drew really hard with your pencil, I'm taking a black Sharpie and I'm gonna completely go over my pencil lines. Okay, so I have almost everything done here. If you look, there's a couple of details that I didn't put in yet, and one of them is these little lines, and they reminded me of a fork. So if you think about when you're doing it, I'm just going to pretend it's like a fork, and fork has 4 what are called tines, and it's the first layer of petals has this shape. One of the things about sunflowers, I grow sunflowers too, and the birds love them, but these are sunflower seeds. These are black sunflower seeds. They have striped sunflower seeds too, but I don't know if you can see them really close up. They have sort of a beveled edge to them, but they look like little teardrops. So I'm going to, I thought, well, because I wanted to make this a sunflower, I said, let me make these little shapes on here. So all of the petals that don't have any lines in them, I made little sunflower seed shapes. So I put those. If you're still drawing in the outline, that's fine. I'm just going to start erasing my pencil lines before I start to color in, because sometimes the pencil can get messy, and I used a pretty dark pencil. So the way you have to erase is you don't erase, you always hold your paper down when you're erasing, and what you don't want to do is you don't want to catch your paper. So I'm always turning my paper and I'm erasing as much as I can. And I'm using a white plastic eraser. They work pretty good, but any eraser that you have will be good. And if hopefully you didn't press too hard and it's easy for you, I'm erasing pretty heavy because I have a really heavy line. And you have to be careful that you don't go this way. You don't like push your paper up. You're always trying to push away to the outside edge if you can. And make sure you're holding your paper down when you get to the corners, because it's real easy to catch the paper and then it makes a crease in the page. It's okay if you do, but that's a way to avoid it. And I'm just going around erasing wherever I see any pencil. So if you're still drawing, if you're still outlining or drawing, keep going. Now I have my entire drawing done. Now you can decide, do you want to start the background, foreground first? Everything's up to you. I think I started at the center, and I picked out some colors. These might be a little bit different than I had before. Obviously, I'm going to color it in the same color that the Talavera Pottery people use, those bright primary colors. And this is an orange one. And what I'm doing is going around the outside edge, and that way the color is gonna, everything I color now can become real quick. And I'm just gonna color it in. Now, when you're coloring in, you wanna be as neat and careful as you can. And I'm left-handed. I always have to be careful that I don't drag color across the page. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, I did the whole circle in this orange color, but one of the things that I did was to give it a little bit of texture. It's not exactly the same color. I made little red circles. I have a red marker. These are Crayola, by the way. They're not expensive, and they're pretty easy to use, and they have nice points. And I just made a little circle inside of each square, and that gives it a little bit of texture, and it also gives it a little bit of depth. And one of the things I wanted to do on the butterfly, on the sunflower, was I had this little bit of tone outside of the butterfly, and I think that marker might have dried up on me. So I'm going to switch to a crayon. I'll just show you this, just to give it a little bit of tone. I'm just doing the outside border of my flower petals. Now, if you look again at the prototype here, I'm using the same color on the inside, and these colors are a little bit different than I used originally. So now I'm going to fill in with orange into all of these. I did this one, a green marker. I did this one in crayon. So this is going to be probably a little darker. But what you have to do with the leaves is, because they have a lot of different shapes to them. If you're thinking about a leaf, leaves kind of come out from the center, and I'm just following the direction that I think the leaf petal is going to go in. Of course, I have a little bit of an outline so I don't go outside of the line, but I'm coming around that way. You see? Now, butterflies, like I said, they don't pollinate the same way that bees do. Butterflies have what's called a proboscis coming out of their mouth, or their head, and they suck nectar out of the plant flowers. Like in a sunflower, all of these things are actually going to be little tiny flowers, and bees will get pollen on their legs and all over, and they'll go from flower to flower and pollinate them. Where a butterfly doesn't pollinate as much as a bee does, but it has, because it's landing on the flower and drinking nectar that gives it the strength to fly, it will naturally get some pollen on its legs, and then it'll go from flower to flower and do the same thing. Now, here's the blue color. In my original one, I just used crayon. You can use crayon if you want, but this is like a real solid marker, and I'm trying to avoid too many crazy lines. So if you're doing something, try to keep it all going in the same direction if you can, and if not, you might see some streaking. Like you can definitely see streaks here. there's my finished sunflower. Now, you could just leave it at that and call it a day. And if you wanted to make a bunch of those, it's kind of fun. You can even try different flowers if you want. But I wanted to do a butterfly too. So in this picture, this butterfly was done as a separate piece of paper. And the way I did it was I took another piece of paper and I took 1/4 of it. So if you were to, let's see if I can find another piece of paper. Here's another piece of paper, and I took 1/4 of it. So what I had, the way I made this 1/4 of a page is I folded it in half, and here's a lazy way to, or the fast way, I shouldn't say lazy, fast way to cut a piece of paper, just take a sharp edge, fold it in half and pull it. And then you get a half a sheet, but I want 1/4 of a sheet. So I have to fold this in half again. And I'm gonna do that. So then I'm gonna take my ruler again. If you don't want to use a ruler, you can cut it with a pair of scissors if you want, but this is going to give me my 1/4 of a sheet. So now this is what I'm going to be using to make my butterfly. I have my sunflower, which looks, it's very happy. It can be a standalone design. You can do anything you want with it. And if you want to make a sunflower, taking my 1/4 sheet, which is about, so I'm using a 9x12 piece of paper. It's about 4.5 by 6. But so I'm going to fold it, the short ends together. I'm going to fold the short ends together. And so now I have, it opens up like a book. So I have this 2 sides. Now, what I wanted to do here, I'm going to take my pencil again. If I didn't lose it, here's my pencil. I'm going to divide this. This is, again, a mathematical formula for doing it. I have 4.5 inches, so 2.25 is the center. Now, the way I did my butterfly design, I have the half is right about here. I have split the top half in half again. So if you can see that. And then these 2 pieces is like 1 inch. I'm going to make it a half. So right now I have the half, and then I have split that in half, and then I split this piece in half. You can see that. So then this side here is 2.25 inches. What I want to do is split it into thirds, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarters. So that would be 3/4 per third. If you don't have, if it's not exactly 4.5, you can just eyeball it. You need three pieces here, and you need 2 here. The way you have it is like, this is going to be the top. So I'm going to turn my page around. I'm going to put my sunflower away for a minute. If you're still doing your sunflower, if you want to watch this for a minute, and then you can finish your sunflower later. Now, this is where I'm getting back into the ruler. I'm going to make a mark a 1/2 inch over throughout here. And then I'm going to draw, do it lightly in pencil because you're going to need to erase this. Do it lightly in pencil. I'm going to press a little bit harder so you can see it. I can't really see it on the camera, but there's my 1/2 inch line. And I have my 1/2 inch mark, and I have my 1/2 inch mark from here to here is half. So this is where I'm going to make my head. The head of my butterfly is going to be from here to here. And then I'm going to make the body of my butterfly, which is going to be from here. I'm coming around, and where it ends on the bottom third, that's where my body is going to be. And this does not have to be perfect at all. This is, any shape you want to do is fine, actually. So what I have here is the body of my butterfly, and then there's a little antenna that comes up, and I just indicated it anywhere. You don't have to worry about that so much. But it could be a straight line, it could be a curved shape. I'm going to cut it out as a shape. And so you have two corners here. If you can see the corners right here and right here, and then you can see where the head meets the body. That's where I'm going to come out from these corners. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm starting here where the head ends, and I'm going to make an arc out to that corner. If you follow that, and I'm going to go back to this center point, and I'm going to make like kind of like an S shape. Think about an S shape. The big part of the S, of course, is on top. So I made that big S shape there. And so what I'm going to do now is where the bottom of the body meets this ½ space, I'm going to make another S shape. Maybe not so extreme, but what I want to do is end up in this corner. And so that's what I'm going to do. So and don't worry about it being exact. I don't think we have to care about if it's a perfect butterfly or not, or if it's not the same as mine or anything like that. Just do what you like. Now, the way I'm making this one come out is this line here. I want to join to this line here, and you can see it's sort of like a kind of a curved shape, and then it comes up this way. So now I have my top of the wing on this side, and I have the bottom of the wing on that side, and I have my head, and I have the body, and I have the antenna. So this is where I'm going back to symmetry. In symmetry, this is going to be the exact same as the other side. But how are we going to see that? Let's finish the drawing first. I made a circle, and I made 2 smaller circles. So if you do that, then what I did was I came out with my black outline, and I came in, and I just as a design element, made an inner side. This whole area is going to be black, and I just drew a couple lines there. So now on the bottom part of the butterfly, I drew this time. Let's draw like a shape here. I'm bringing it's thinner and it's wider as it goes back. Now this shape is different than this shape, so don't worry about it. But what I did do was I have 1 circle, and I have another 2 circles. But this time I have the line coming to join them all coming from the same point. Unfortunately, you can't really fit there. So here I have my outline. So how do I get this to go on the other side? Now, there's a couple of things you can do that'll make it really easy. One of them is you can put it up to a window and just trace it. But I can't really do that. I mean, that's the simplest way to do it. But if you're not near a window, you're not going to be able to do it. So what I thought would be the best way to do it would be to cut it out. And just so you know, before we do that ½ line that we drew is going to be a fold line. So the way I take my hard edge and I let me show you how I did that again. I put my ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can just measure it and just fold it. And I folded it on top of it. And that gave me this half edge shape. And I want to do the same thing to the other side. So I have that flat down like that. And then I'm going to fold it into itself, lining it up with my folded other side. And you can see that that's not perfect. You can measure it if you want to, but what you end up with is a ½ inch on this side and a ½ inch on that side. And that's what you're going to do. That's how you're going to end up sticking. This part's going to be flat and that part's going to be sticking up. So the next thing you want to do, we only have about 15 minutes left, so I'm going to kind of rush through this, but you want to cut this out. And well, you could draw it first, but you could draw it in your marker first, but I'm just going to cut it out because we're running a little bit late. And if you're not good at cutting and you don't really want to, you can take your time with this, or you can really do something real quick and just cut straight lines then and not worry so much about curves. But I'm cutting this out of my paper, and when I'm going around the corners, I'm turning my paper so that I'm cutting like round shapes, and so it's kind of curving with my paper. And I'm going to do that now. I'm going back to where my S is, my S shape that I made with my pencil, and I'm coming around that corner and making a big mess. Okay, so here I am. Now I have to come back into this. So I'm gonna pick up where I left off, and I'm coming to the edge. And all I have left is what's left of the body. So I'm just gonna come around like that. And so now I have a very symmetrical butterfly shape. And now what you have to do is you have to make this side match this side. Now let's see if I can do this without, I'm gonna have to, whatever I have over here, I wanna repeat over here. So I have this line coming up here, and I wanna bring this line over here. And then this is the body. So I'm gonna do that. And the body shape, I just made a couple of lines here, and I made an X here. It doesn't really matter. And then here again, if you see where I came out over here, I have this going like this way. I'm just basically copying. I have a circle, and I have another circle, little circle, and then I'm going to come up, and I'm going to come around and back down, and then I just have a line here and a line here. Now, obviously, if you have a window or something, you can even put it up to a computer if you want to, and you can trace the other side. It makes it a little bit simpler, but you don't have to. So I'm going to come around this way. Here's my other side, and I have 3 circles, and I had them all coming, I had all the lines coming from this point, and I didn't give myself enough room, so it didn't work out that way, but that's just how it's gonna work out. So here's your butterfly, and we're gonna have to color it in pretty quick, and then I'll just show you how to quickly glue it on. So if you have another piece of paper you wanna put underneath it, I don't want you to get your table all colored in, because you're going to go right to the edges this time. And what you're going to do first is outline everything. All of the outside edges are going to be black. Now, one of the things I also read about butterflies, and I don't think sunflowers are their favorite things, but they like flowers that they can land on, and it makes it easy to land on. So butterflies are actually, they like lots of things. They like butterfly, there's things called butterfly bush, butterfly weed. They all, they flock to the flowers that they're easiest for them to get the nectar out of it, and the sunflower is one of those flowers. So here I have a finished, kind of a sloppy butterfly, but it's good enough. So here's my finished butterfly. And get rid of that, and then I can put it on. I can get ready to color that in. So if I look at my design here, we have about 10 minutes left, so I think we have time to do this. I have light blue in the background, and I made this green. My antlers, I made them just a line, so they don't need to be colored in. And I'm just going to copy that real quick. So right off the bat, I made all of this blue. And again, because I'm using a water-based marker with a permanent black marker, I can go right over that. I want to avoid the circles because they're going to be a different color. So I just color them in. And now my butterfly is completely colored in. It's a little fatter than the other one, isn't it? Well, nothing ever comes out the same twice unless you're copying exactly. Now, you can put your butterfly anywhere you want. I kind of liked it there, so you can put it here, or you can even do more than one if you want. Now, I'm using a glue stick. If you don't have a glue stick, I don't have much left in this one, you can use tape. But all I did, I don't know if you can see this. Let me get my hand out of the way. I'm taking my glue stick and I brought it down the center of the body of the butterfly. And that all that does is it gives me the ability to stick it somewhere. So let's just say I'm sticking it in the same place I stuck it before. I'm just going to press that part down. So what happens is the loose parts are able to be up in the air, and it makes it look like it's almost like a floating butterfly. And then if you wanted to, you don't have to. I didn't stick down the antenna, but you can do that if you want to. So that is that's pretty much the end of it. Now, if I wanted to do another bug, I could, or if I wanted to make a couple of these, you can keep them in all the same color, or you can do different colors. But I basically wanted to do it for Cinco de Mayo, which is May 5th. This is a Mexican sunflower, and if you wanted to hang it up on your refrigerator, or if you want to do anything fun with it, you could. You can also sign your name somewhere. That would be kind of fun. And if you wanted to do different bugs, you can. Now you can use this idea for bees or for butterflies or for any other kind of insect too. Just think about it in terms of folding the paper in half and doing the same thing on one side to the other, and then coloring it in and sticking it on. You can do all kinds of things like that. And you can make it, you can do, maybe you want to do a bee and put it over here, you want to do something else. But that is pretty much the end of it.